Okay, good evening, Mr. Wawan. So in this video, I and my friends want a presentation about contact between cultures. Before I continue, let me introduce my team. So the first one is me, Wulandari Pasaribu. I want to present about colonialism until Australia. The second speaker is Asmirando Farhani. I want to present about cultural imperialism until Japanese icon in Mexico. And the last speaker is Carol Bahri. Wanna present about US cultural icons until adapting the message. So let's get started. Colonialism. Throughout history, thousands of cultures across all areas in the globe have come to the exit. According to Stephen Silesman, an American anthropologist, culture contact can be defined as a general term used by archaeologists to refer to groups of people coming into or staying in contact for days, years, decades, centuries, or even millennia. While he defined colonialism as the process by which a city or nation state exerts control over people termed indigenous and territories outside its geographical boundaries, but therefore are a process that can occur when two different cultures come into contact with one to another. If we label a contact event where one territory takes political and cultural control over another territory as culture contact rather than colonialism, it is greatly take away from the sovereignty of what occurred and the suffering experienced by many individuals. Talisman sums this up quite nicely in a quote. Indigenous people find the last 5 centuries of attack on their cultural traditions, heritage, and lives. For example, Indians as slaves. From the time of Columbus, Spain debated the rationality of the Indians. Are the Indians rational humans with souls? The monarchy issued laws intended to regulate Indian-Spaniard relations. Lascaux argued that the Indians were rational, free human in the natural order, deserved the same treatment as others, and could be true to Christianity without force. Hawaii. The Hawaii Islands are the most isolated landmass on Earth. The earliest archaeological evidence shows some carbon date fish hooks on the Big Islands dating back to 450 AD, but most historians believe that classic Hawaiian civilization did not begin to develop until nearly 700 years later. Hawaii has many mysteries about its ancient past and the evolution of the landscape and culture. Hawaiian legends speak of several waves of immigration from multiple southern islands in Asian Polynesia. Through modern archaeology, we have learned how much about this migration and the steady rise in population. Religion and the culture practice that these ancient voyagers brought to the Hawaiian island group. So the current population of the state is approximately 1.4 million. The Hawaii State Department of Health reported a Hawaiian population of 255,910. Australia. 18 years after Captain Cook first arrived off the eastern coast of Australia, Captain Arthur Phillip arrived with 11 ships and their cargo of prisoners who established the British settlement on the shores of Sydney Harbour in January 1788. Captain Phillip few of the colonies as guests of the indigenous inhabitants, and his edict prohibiting molesting or killing Aboriginal was not long lasting. The Europeans occupied coastal hunting grounds and disturbed scarce sight of local Aboriginals, not having learned of their existence, much less importance. In the book Ancient Society, published in 1877, the Australia Aboriginal was described as the living representative of the worldwide primal culture from which all other cultures have evolved. The Aboriginal was labeled as not evolved, the oddity or semi-human. As the Europeans moved further into the continent with farming and the cattle raising, the Aboriginal population was decimated. Arsenic was mixed with the flour or inserted into the carcass of sheep given to the Aboriginals for food. The next, cultural imperialism, present by Asmi. Thank you.
I'm Azmi, will explain about cultural imperialism. Some say that colonialism cultural imperialism continues in many of ways, including military occupation, corporate colonialism, and the media. The cultural imperialist approach to communication recognizes that mass media are not value-free. The media also carry important cultural values, said Northern Strang and Schiller, 1979, and Schiller, 1976. In this theory, the media that can capture and dominate international markets serve the originating country's intentions. One of the outcomes of cross-cultural interaction is that one culture may learn and adopt some tradition from the other. The planned and managed transmission of a culture from one country to another country might be from a developed country to a developing country with the goal of supporting the developing country, or it can be marketing for economic gain. And next is about development communication. Agricultural practice, family planning, infant health, HIV/AIDS, nutrition, health education, and housing have all been the subject of development communication. Two conceptual approaches have dominated the field: is diffusion and participatory. In analyzing and planning innovation diffusion, the communication model given in Chapter 2 has proven to be extremely effective. And next is about opinion leadership and change agents. Opinion leadership and change agents play critical roles in the diffusion process. Individuals who can informally influence other people's opinions or overconduct in a desired way on a regular basis are considered as opinion leaders, while a change agent is someone who impacts innovation and decisions in the direction that a change agency finds desirable. And next is adopters. The rate of adoption is the time it takes for members of a social system to adopt a new idea. Adoption categories or classification of members of a social system based on innovativeness are important to understand the diffusion process. Innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggards are listed in order of their adoption of a change. When a culture absorbs new technologies, the diffusion process can be observed. And next is change agent ethics. One final aspect of diffusion process is change agent ethics. The introduction of rejection of an innovation has consequences for a society. It is important to recognize that the adoption or rejection of any innovation has consequences for the society. Communication is defined in the convergence model as a process in which two or more individuals share knowledge and converge over time toward a larger degree of mutual agreement. The convergence model focuses on the relationship between people who share information, whereas the diffusion model focuses on what one individual does to another. And then next is cultural hegemony. Some societies may take the rising popularity of certain icons as a type of cultural hegemony, or as a fear of one culture gaining a dominant influence over another. It is thought that the value of the culture are being conveyed. The value can be observed automatically or possibly uncritically by the receiving of culture. And last material that I will explain is Japanese icon in Mexico. In Japan, instant ramen is a cultural icon, different from traditional Mexican food, which has fresh ingredients, slow-cooked sauce, and hand-worked dough. Japanese fast food noodles were first imported into Mexico in the 1980s. But however, in today, Mexico is Latin America's largest per capita consumer of instant ramen. Nonetheless, defenders of the nation cuisine point the relationship between food and culture, which they see a threat to family and other traditional values. And the next material will be explained by my friend Barry.
Hello, my name is Hairul Bahri and I will continue the presentations. My part is the US cultural icons. There are some famous cultural icons from US. The first one is Coca-Cola. The most widely recognized US icon worldwide is Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola products are sold in more countries than the United Nations has members. And it is claimed that Coke is the second most universally understood term in English after OK. The company has marketed internationally since 1900 and today Coke has sells 1.9 billion servings daily globally. The next one is Disney. Who doesn't know who Disney is? Here, the first Disney line outside the United States opened in 1983 in Tokyo and was totally owned by Japanese companies. Disney's 4.4 billion Disney opened near Paris in April 1992. The French called this Europeanized Chernobyl, the most terrific nuclear accident that happened in Chernobyl town. The next icon from US is KFC. It is widely known KFC or Kentucky Fried Chicken. It is the most recognizable international icon of any kind in China. And today, China is the largest source of revenue for the company. KFC remains popular in Muslim Indonesia despite less than favorable attitudes toward the US government. The world's largest Muslim nation, KFC is lucrative during Ramadan. Perhaps Muslims in Indonesia have divergent attitudes about the US government and US popular culture. And then there is spam. It is called spam or the miracle meat in a can. It is launched by Indian States in 1937. As it does not need to be refrigerated, it is traveled easily with the US military during World War II and the Korean War. Spam remains popular in the Philippines, Okinawa, Guam, and Saipan, all places with a history of US military presence. World War II brought thousands of US military personnel to Hawaii, and with them came to the mainland cultural influences that dominated and replaced existing traditions. Nike. Nike ties much of its advertising and well-known athletes, such as basketball star Michael Jordan, whose ad appearance contributes to billions in sales of sneakers and clothing. In 2015, Nike became the official apparel supplier for the entire NBA. Even Nike is a big company, they still make some kind of mistakes. For example, in China, Nike featured US basketball player LeBron James battling a kung fu master as well as other cultural symbols. The Chinese government banned the commercial as violating regulations to uphold national dignity and respect for local culture. And lastly, the adapting the message. The key to the devotions and convergence process across the cultures is adaptation of the message to the receiving cultures. The key is to adapt to the local culture, localize thinking, localize the product, and localize the marketing strategy. For example, in Japanese advertising, they reflect Confucians and collective values, concept of peace and harmony related to an indirect communication style. Meanwhile, in US advertising, reflects assertiveness, the direct approach, and competitiveness. And maybe that's all from our group for today's presentation. If there are any mistakes in delivering the presentation, I apologize. And please kindly leave a comment in the e-learning. Thank you.